He put the vice president in charge of cutting regulations. And I was on the staff. That was my job. And you pretty quickly realize, as was predictable with Musk, wow, that's not going to happen.
So you graduate from Columbia, and obviously most people who want to be in government or related to the actual judicial system, one of the most prestigious places to be is to be able to clerk for a Supreme Court justice. And you have this opportunity with Justice Stevens. Now, I've been to DC a lot. There are pros and cons. That's a whole other topic. And I've done it from the military context, and I'm coming into my 4th year of lecturing at the National War College.
Cool.
And there is this aura and feeling because you're stepping into an environment that there's a lot of shoulders that you're standing on over decades and at this point centuries. Walk us through, because I don't know, has anybody gone to a Supreme Court chamber? Walk us through kind of the feeling and experience of this whole process. And again, did you stumble into being a clerk, or how did that whole process evolve?
Yeah, you don't, I mean, that's one you have to have done really well in law school. So it's a very selective process. Justice Stevens, the justice for whom I clerked, had also been a law clerk. And so he treated his law clerks very uniquely within the justices because, well, I won't get into the details, but just shorthand of it is we had 4 times more work than every other law clerk and fewer of us. And it was great. It was an amazing experience, and you felt, just the significance of the institution. We wrestled with, I mean, as the law clerk, you kind of pretend that these are your decisions. They're not, but you can feel like they are, and it was a fascinating experience. But really, a heads down, you don't look up. I mean, for the year that I was doing that job, that was it. That was it. And it also convinced me, so there are an awful lot of law clerks that do that then go become law professors. And that convinced me, wow, that's the last thing I want to do. That's just way too intense.
So if that was too intense, and you go into the belly of the beast by being the deputy counsel for Vice President George Bush, so I'm assuming all these lessons of that first pillar that you talked about is that you're going actually deeper into the belly of DC and seeing the entire ecosystem. Can you kind of give us some perspective of that experience?
So the experience of, there are leadership experiences of working for Vice President George Bush that were amazing. It's a great deal. Being on the staff of the vice president, if you're going to be in government, is one of the great experiences because there are not many of you. The vice president often becomes the president, as happened with Bush. And so you actually get to see who the man is, what he does, all the rest. I learned so much from him personally. The specific thing we were working on was we were sort of a buttoned-down version of Elon Musk. So Reagan ran, and he had, lower taxes, better defense, and cutting regulation. He put the vice president in charge of cutting regulations, and I was on the staff. That was my job, and you pretty quickly realize, as was predictable with Musk, wow, that's not going to happen. I mean, that's not going to happen. And for every regulation, there's somebody out there who benefits from the regulation and who is going to be distressed if it gets changed. And the politics around it, even then, and the politics were, I mean, in comparison, the politics then were so relatively kind, but it was brutal. It was brutal. The first, I won't get it. I have lots of stories, lots of stories. But it was another great learning experience. So that was fascinating. This is you're just getting dumped into heavy seaweed, and it's hard to make progress.